Hello, everyone. Hello. I'll just check that the audio is working before I go any further. So just bear with me a sec whilst I make sure everything is all good. Perfect. Everything is great. Hello and welcome to a very rare occasion that I am doing a deadline stream for game week 6. Yes, I don't often do this. It's always quite a difficult technical thing for me to work out how to do. But I've managed to, for this one-off occasion, because it's such a big occasion, it's my wild card. I'm locking in my wild card before the deadline. And don't you worry, the ever reliable FPL Juice Show deadline streamception, where they basically take all the important info from the FPL deadline streams. So we know injury news, leaks, and all that. I'm listening to it in the background. So I've got that whilst I'm doing my own stream, talking through my wildcard team and locking it in on the stream. So at the moment, I haven't changed it in the space of Saturday, the hours of Saturday. I left it as it was last night, but there's been a lot of changes since I talked about my wildcard on the latest Form is Temporary podcast. By the way, if you did go and miss that, make sure you do catch up on Spotify. It was a really good episode with FPL Discomfort, Kieran. Really enjoyed it. He had a fantastic insight into kind of the game week and the topics that everyone was talking about. So yeah, do go check that out on Spotify. And also, make sure you do smash a like on this one because, yeah, it's going to be exciting. Locking in my wildcard team, and we'll let you know of any team news as it comes in. So, yeah, get involved in the chat. Let me know your transfers. Let me know your dilemmas ahead of game week 6 deadline at 11 o'clock. And feel free to ask me any questions you feel you want answering because there's a lot to work out. You know, I've got to lock in that final wild card. And of course, we need to work out who's a captain in game week 6, which is a tricky one this week, I think, with Saka, Haaland, and Salah all up for grabs. So, as I was saying, my wildcard draft is currently active and it has changed quite a bit from what I discussed because when we recorded that with FPL Discomfort Kieran, that was on Wednesday, early evening. And of course, that was the night that Arsenal played in the Carabao Cup against Bolton. And of course, we didn't have any Raya appearance there. Now, we now know that the injury is a lot more serious than initially was thought. And so there is rumours that Raya, unfortunately, wasn't at the hotel yesterday. We have to get confirmation of that through kind of leaks, I suppose, but is not looking good basically for David Raya. So he was initially in my squad. I had to kind of rethink a lot of my players, and we'll get onto that. So we'll quickly do a little review of game week number 5. Just catch you up from where we were last time ahead of the game week 5 deadline. We did obviously that podcast with Druv and with the legend that is Craig from Man On Podcast. And in game week 5, I made just the one transfer because I wanted to get rid of Muniz. Muniz was a big issue in my team. And so I felt that Muniz would be the reason that I made a transfer, basically, because other than that, I did ideally want to roll going into the wild card in game week 6. But as I said, Muniz was too much of an issue, had to deal with him first. And I locked that transfer in just ahead of me going on Streamception for FPL Juice. Really great experience. First FPL Juice Streamception, really enjoyed it. And yeah, it was really good fun. I have to say, great fun. And yeah, he's currently on it, Tom, FPL Lucky Tom. He does a great job of hosting that. So absolutely, yeah, really loved the experience. And my transfer was Muniz to Calvert-Lewin, which looked okay because it was a nice fixture for Everton, away to Leicester. Unfortunately, Calvert-Lewin did blank in that game. And it's just typical FPL luck that Muniz ends up getting benched, as I expected, but then comes off the bench and gets an assist. So he actually got more points than Calvert-Lewin. So if I'd done nothing, I would have, unfortunately got more points. But there's 2 points in it, and I just thought that Calvert-Lewin would be worth a gamble. I did look at Vardy for a 1 week punt before wildcard, but I just didn't like the kind of lack of shots Vardy's had this season. And I just didn't know if that would actually amount to chances. And I thought, well, Everton have got to prove a point in that game. Surely Everton can score against Leicester. They did. It was the wrong Everton forward. It was Iliman and Jai and not Dominic Calvert-Lewin. So, yeah, frustrating one, that really. All in all, though, pretty happy with game week 5. A very important green arrow. I had back-to-back reds for game week 4 and 3. So really needed, as a much needed green arrow really to get me back on track. Up to 1.4 million, which really, really nice rank rise. If I just look at my kind of ranks here. So we started the season a little bit meh, had an okay first game week of 67 points. And then we had a really tricky couple of game week 3 and 4, dropping all the way down to a pretty tough rank of 2.1 million. But we've managed to go right back up and now above where we were in game week 3. So very happy with, yeah, a very hefty score of 72 points there. And in terms of my game week 5, looking at it in more detail, I mean, Pope, yet again, frustrates. I don't know how he manages it, but he conceded against Fulham a very poor goal, really, from that Smith Rowe goal. So it was good in a way for me because I had Smith Rowe, but yeah, it was just a failed experiment, unfortunately. Nick Pope, he did really well game week 1, but he's conceded every game since then. So yeah, really not ideal, that, to be honest. But that's why I wanted a wild card. A lot of these little details that I wanted to change, and Pope was one of them. Ola Aina has probably been my best decision this season, as mad as that sounds. He's been a really nice differential for me, and he was 0.9% owned when I got that haul in game week 2 of a 9-pointer. So yeah, he's been really, really good for me. And unfortunately, this was the week where it kind of took the reverse because he just got the 0-pointer because, yeah, Brighton scored 2 goals. Forest not looking good in that away performance defensively. And I do think going forward, they're still quite a good defense, but just didn't work out in this Brighton game. So yeah, very unfortunate for Ola Aina. Ezri Konsa, yeah, nice. Love to see that because he'd conceded in all the games I'd started in that looked positive for clean sheet chances. And then he gets that goal. Very, very happy with that. Trent, lovely 11-pointer. Kind of wish I'd thought about captaining him, but I never usually think about captaining defenders, so I'm not going to be too disheartened. But finally, Trent gets his first attack and returns of the season. It was long, in due, long awaited, and it was definitely coming. And that's why we love to own Trent. And I just don't think he's going to be one I take out on a wild card. So yeah, lovely to see that from him. And then Munoz, that was a real bonus because I started Jota hoping he'd get the start against Bournemouth, and he didn't get any minutes, which I was kind of fuming about because I thought, well, Munoz is not going to do anything against Manchester United. Lo and behold, he gets the clean sheet. So very happy with that. Midfield, Rodgers. Finally, Rodgers came through. Very, very pleased about that. I honestly was growing very impatient, but I just looked at the fixtures. I looked at where Rodgers was playing in that Villa team, in that number 10 position, and the returns were bound to come eventually. And yes, he got the 2 lovely assists against Everton. And yeah, just to top it off, he nicks those bonuses at the end as well, 24 hours after the game is over. So yeah, really happy with Rodgers. Again, he's one I just can't shift on a wild card. I think he's just too good in terms of the team he's playing for, the great attack he's got around him and the role he's playing and the minutes he's playing for the price of 5.2 million or whatever it is now. I mean, it's too good to refuse. So really, really happy with that. The rest of the midfield, Smith Rowe, as I said, did score that goal. So very happy. He's been a bit of a mixed own at the start of the season. I mean, obviously started quite slow. Minutes have been reduced, but he scored a few goals. So quite pleased with how he's turned out. Also, Salah. Salah was, really disappointing because as captain, I thought that might be the one to really pump me up the ranks this week. And I did get the green arrow regardless of him just getting that assist in the win against Bournemouth. But yeah, really disappointing. Haaland ends up outscoring Salah. Never would have put that in the lottery for that Arsenal game. So yeah, Salah really disappointing. It's just typical that he scores 41 points after 3 game weeks. I move him in for Saka, who returns in both weeks, and Salah just gets the 1 assist. I mean, it's very, very underwhelming. So Unfortunately, Salah's someone that I just don't think I'm going to be able to squeeze on a wild card, and we'll get to that, of course. But yeah, of course, he's just a great own at any point. And with Wolves' current injuries going into the deadline and their illness kind of problem in the squad, he's just a very tempting buy on a wild card. But it's just too hard to fit him in with the rest of the squad that I want. So yeah, I just don't think you're going to get a balanced squad with Salah in this season, unfortunately. And Haaland is just a joke every week for captaincy. So you just have to have him. The front line, as I've said, Calvert-Lewin was a bit disappointing to see that blank. Isak, again, just a troll. I mean, comes off at half time. In a game where you thought, oh, the people that have sold him could really get punished. And he's made that joke about, to the Swedish reporter, oh, don't sell me. You should sell me and I'll score 2 goals. And I'm thinking, yes, come on, Isak. You can really deliver and punish those sellers. And he goes off at half time with an injury. Had an eye injury in the previous game. That was the weird thing, was that everyone was thinking, Isak, you're not going to play against Fulham, because there was a lot of doubt after that Wolves game. But he starts the game. I'm very glad I held my nerve on FPLG Streamception, kept Isak in, and very, very pleased that I did that, because at the end of the day, I say Everton for Rodgers. I meant Wolves. I meant to say Wolves. Isak is such a good own when he's on form and fit, but he's just not been on form this season. It's simple as that. At the start of the season, fixtures for Newcastle looked really promising, but it's just not materialised at all. And so very, very disappointing. But that's why he's another one that's just got to go now, because he's got this injury he's picked up, and the fixtures for Newcastle are starting to turn. So yeah, and then of course Haaland, very nice to see him score, even in the games like Arsenal, where he probably get backed in the most against across the season. So yeah, it's the sort of fixture he still finds a way, and he's still an absolute joke. So every 15.3 million is worth every penny. So yeah, all in all, 72 points. Very happy with that. Jota obviously came to my rescue really with that Munoz auto sub, but we'll take it. And we go into game week 6, activated the wild card, really going to push up that rank now. 1.4 million, hoping to get into the upper echelons of the world rankings and really try and kick on with this wild card, because I felt I needed to capitalize on the fixture swing for Arsenal and Brentford, get rid of a few kind of dead rubbers, because Palace's defense has been a problem. Isak and Pope, maybe selling someone like a Jota, because going forward we just don't know what his minutes are. I had too many issues in my team, and I needed to get in on some of the players that are rising in value. I mean, my team value this wildcard week has been poor. Unfortunately, I've not been keeping that much attention to it, which I probably should have done, and it's meant that I don't have the most squad value possible to build a really strong team. But I think the players I've picked on this wild card are strong enough. So we'll get to that now when we talk through my current wild card live draft. So let's get into that. Talking of live news, I'm still listening to Juice, and yeah, sorry, just checking Juice to make sure there's no deadline updates, but I don't think there is. Yeah, so there's some controversy this week about Raya, because FPL Juice, Nick, has leaked that he thinks he's not playing. Now, of course, everything that's materialized over the last kind of 24 hours is now looking much more like Raya won't be available, but it's not confirmed. So it's interesting. It's interesting. He's been kind of blocked and outed for it, but I just got to respect it. I got to respect it. He's doing what he thinks right. You just got to respect it. So in terms of my wildcard team, then let's keep the suspense no longer. Here is my wildcard, and get in the comments what you think. Should I be changing any players? We've got literally just over an hour before deadline, so it's really squeaky bum time, as regards to the wild card. So here we go. Let's start off with Between the Sticks, shall we? Between the Sticks, we have got, of course, Mr. Mark Flecken. Now, as I said earlier, with the kind of thing around Raya, I had Raya in originally, and I thought to myself, there's no way I'm changing that. It's set and forget for the season. But this Raya injury has really thrown a spanner in the works, and so I just feel that Flecken is the one that I need to get in on, simply because I think the fixtures for Brentford are looking quite good. Now, I know that last season Flecken was a bit of a troll and he wasn't getting a lot of clean sheets, but he does provide a route to save points. And so that is, something strong. Hi, Ferrari61. Good to see you in the chat. Bench Pau Torres or Rico Lewis? Oh, good question, Ferrari61. Well, good question. Rico Lewis, obviously, we're hoping for a leak for the game, the 12:30 game against Newcastle. Pau Torres away to Ipswich. I think quite a good chance of a clean sheet there for Aston Villa. I know that they're yet to get a clean sheet this season, and they've been quite a frustrating defensive side to own this season, Aston Villa. But I would be a lot more confident, obviously, in Pau Torres' minutes. And Rico Lewis, I think Newcastle score, to be honest. So you're kind of looking at attacking returns, I think, for Rico Lewis, whereas you're looking at maybe a clean sheet, unlikely to get attacking returns of Pau Torres. So I would say the kind of potential is higher for Pau Torres this week, just because of the risk of rotation. But if we get a leak that Rico Lewis starts, then I would probably just play Rico Lewis. So with the information we've got at the moment, which is we haven't got any leaks so far, kind of looking through Twitter, looking through the Juice stream section to check, we've got no information. So at this current point in time, I would start Pau Torres, but I'll let you know if there's any news on Lewis, because I think obviously when he's playing minutes, Lewis is a great FPL pick. It's just the when, it's the if. So yeah, interesting dilemma, that one, Ferrari61, but thanks for sending that through. So yeah, as I was saying with Flecken, I mean, Raya was the one I was just so clear in terms of my thought process that I wanted. But I just think when Raya's a doubt like he is now, and he's had the whole, oh, he's not showed up at the team hotel, there's a good chance he's not with the team. I just think it leaves it far too risky for me to then go with someone like Raya, and then I'm unlikely to want to spend extra money on a replacement in case Raya's not fit, because then I'm taking away good players in the rest of my squad. So that's why I feel it's worth, if you've not got enough information, to just go safe and go without Raya. It's a shame because I think next week there'll be a point where if Raya's back very soon, everyone's going to look at their teams and say, well, why have I got a Brentford goalkeeper in, or a Forest goalkeeper, or a Chelsea goalkeeper, when of course you'd want Raya. But I think you just have to look at it as you're still going to get clean sheet points for Arsenal. Obviously, depending on where you've gone, I think Gabriel is just an absolute must on wildcard. Saka the same. So you can go with Saliba or you can go with Havertz. I think they're the two obvious. I think someone like Timber is tempting, but I wouldn't be 100% sure of his minutes long term. Maybe for the short term, he's likely to play games, but I'd just be a bit concerned about him. So, Saliba's a very good asset, gets bonus points. And I don't think that you need to overthink this one, really. Arsenal's still the best defence in the league. And I think Raya missing for one game doesn't really change that. So I would still get an Arsenal defender. And so that's what led me to go Flecken, really. Just feels more safe. And, I don't have to rely on potentially having to start 10 players this week if Raya is definitely out. Another question. Thanks for your question from Dinosaur. He said, would or DCL already have Aina? Okay, good question. This is a very close one, I have to say. When it comes to the kind of XG data and the stats behind these players, it's very, very close. I would personally say to probably just favours Wood, but it's very tight because I look at it and think long-term, Calvert-Lewin's got the better fixtures. But then you can see there's a bit of a problem with Calvert-Lewin because, yes, he's very injury prone. Yes, Everton are struggling in form. And would I be surprised if Wood just kept on scoring, kept on playing 90 minutes, kept on, Forest kept on winning? I wouldn't. So I think when it comes to who do I think is going to last the longest, probably Chris Wood. So I would pick Wood. I think the fact you've got Aina already, I know you're probably thinking, oh, is that too much in Forest? But they've got really good fixtures. That's the reality of the situation. And as I mentioned earlier, Ola Reina was a player I went on early from game week 1. It was really good for me. I've not got him on the wild card. That's a spoiler there, because I'm just not sure if I would want to go for another Forest defender now. But fixtures wise, they are looking really good and they're looking more solid. It's just I was a bit concerned about that Brighton performance. I just don't know whether clean sheets is something we can definitely guarantee with Forest, but they've shown potential this season already. So I think Aina's still a good asset in his own right. I've just chose to sway away, but yeah, I would just edge towards Wood. I think maybe that's me being a bit biased. You have to think about the fact I just brought in DCL in game week 5 and he blanked, but no, I think probably long term I would go for Chris Wood. Other question from Dinosaur. He said, "Is Saka and Havertz good, or just stick with double Arsenal? Plan is to switch Solanke in game week 8." Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I am in a different position with my wild card because I've only got the one free transfer. So I had a transfer to make, as I mentioned last week, with the issue with Muniz, which meant I couldn't roll ahead of a wild card. So I don't have a banked up transfer ahead of this wild card. So I'll just have the one free transfer coming out into game week 7, which is a bit of a shame, but it's just been the situation where I've had a lot of players that I need to deal with each week. Unfortunately, they've just not quite worked out. So I've had transfers to make, but I think definitely if you have transfers in the bank, then going with someone like Havertz is probably sensible just to attack the upside of these 2 games against Southampton and Leicester. But if you're in my position, you might see it a bit differently and say, well, I do want Solanke by game week 8, 9. I don't necessarily have the luxury of those transfers built up. So I might just get in Solanke now and not have a transfer that's, built in. I don't have a kind of planned transfer that if something happens, another injury happens, I have to take a -4 to get Solanke in. I've got him ready in case. I don't want to get any injuries. So that's my thinking, really. It depends on your team. But with regards to Saka and Havertz, absolutely very, very good to stick with 2. I mean, we did talk about in the podcast on the form is temporary this week, put it on the title of the episode, really, is triple Arsenal essential? I think on wildcard, I would argue it is. But if you're not on wildcard and you can only get to 2, I don't think you need to start taking massive hits to try and get 3. Of course, Arsenal could be, very, very fruitful in terms of points in the next couple of weeks, but you've also got to remember their fixtures do turn in game week 8, game week 9 sort of at time. After that Bournemouth game, it's a free, pretty tricky fixtures. So if you're not that sure about tripling up and you just want to go with double, I think that's also really fine. So Solanke, yeah, as a planned transfer, it's nice, but you just got to hope that you've got the kind of free transfer to do that in that week. So Mohid's asked, Saka and Watkins or Salah and Wood? Now, I like this question. The reason I like this question is because I think it's a question a lot of wildcarders have been facing this week. Because do you go with Salah? Do you go without? I look at it as I'm going to probably captain Haaland every single game week for the next 6 or 7 game weeks. Maybe that's an exaggeration, but it's basically this run for City is just ridiculous. And I think this game week is included in that run. Now, I know that Newcastle away on paper is probably not as easy a fixture as maybe a Saka at home to Leicester. But the way I look at it is Haaland's form right now is just a joke. He's 10 goals in 5 games. Newcastle defensively have not been good. And I know that in the past they have been, but we have to look at Newcastle defence as a different proposition now. They are struggling to keep those clean sheets. So I just see no problem, even though it's the early kickoff with captaining Haaland. Now, because of that, how many weeks are you going to captain Salah in the next few weeks? Now, of course, this week is good. Wolves away. But I don't think it's that much better than Haaland. I think the 3 captaincy options this week are Saka against Leicester, Haaland against Newcastle, and then Salah against Wolves. I think they're all very, very close. So the way I would look at it is if you had all 3, I'd probably choose Salah. But then if you want to captain Saka or Haaland, that's the debate around having a stronger team overall and going without Salah. Because if you're not thinking you're going to captain him, unlike with Haaland, is Salah really worth that premium budget when you can get a Luis Diaz or you can get someone else in that Liverpool team like a Trent Alexander-Arnold who might get some attack and returns? So my current captain is Haaland. I might change to Saka, but I look at it as is Salah going to really be worth the sacrifices you make in the rest of your team? On wildcard, I've found that it hasn't been. It hasn't been worth it, but it could well be that you're not on wildcard. If that's the case, I'd probably try and keep Salah because he could be powerful in terms of a differential captain this week. Because not many people will go with him on wildcard, if that makes sense. So, I of the two combinations, I prefer Saka and Watkins. I think Watkins, with his rest in midweek against that Ipswich side, could do really, really well. And yeah, I just think it gives you more of a flexible squad overall. But of course, Salah can do very well this week against that depleted Wolves defense, and Wood is just ticking along very nicely. So yeah. Question from Ferrari61 again. He said, any Lewis news yet? I'm keeping up with the news. I've not seen anything from Lewis in terms of the leaks. I've not heard anything at all yet. So I will keep you updated as soon as anything comes in about team leaks. But at the moment, there's not anything as far as I can see. And then another question from Dinosaur. Okay, right. This is a lot of benching. I need to get through and talk about my wildcard team and lock it in soon. But we'll get there. So, okay. Bench 2 between Diaz and Buemo, Semenyo. Oh, wow. Okay. It's basically half your team there, mate. Yeah. Well, definitely don't bench Haaland. That's just obvious. Don't bench Havertz. Don't bench Saka. Oh, sorry, bench 1. No worries. Okay, that makes sense. Right. Well, in that case, it's regressible. This is why I've gone for a 3-5-2, which I'll get to when I explain it. But I just don't want to bench any midfielders this week. And so that's why I've gone for a 3-5-2. So regrettably, the answer I would give, it has to be Rodgers. I mean, Semenyo at home to Southampton could definitely haul with that Southampton defence. Rodgers, yes, he's playing Ipswich, which is a nice fixture, but it doesn't feel like he's a sort of player who's scoring as many goals as the other assets there. He's kind of creating Rodgers. So you could get away with benching him, I think, this week. But I wouldn't love it. I wouldn't love it with the form Rodgers is in, the fixture as well, the way Villa are attacking. They just look really good right now. So, yeah, it's a difficult position to be in. But if I had to bench one of them, it would definitely be Morgan Rodgers, I think. So, yeah, going back to Flecken, I don't love him as a pick, but I just think he's the best alternative to Raya. And I don't want to risk Raya when there's as much doubt as there is attached to him at the moment. So, yeah, look, the fixtures are good long term, and I don't think it's worth overthinking this one. And I've seen a lot of people talk about rotation goalkeepers. Nah, sorry, I can't go back there again. It's painful every time I do it. I pick the wrong goalie. So set and forget. Flecken and Valdemarson. Now, I had Valdemarson previously, so it's a bit funny. No worries, Dinosaur. Appreciate that. Yeah, I had Flecken kind of his backup, Valdemarson, originally because I just went set and forget Pope. But now I've got Flecken and Valdemarson because I just think, why overthink it? Like, just put in a goalkeeper and let it rot. Even if Flecken somehow gets injured, I'll have a goalkeeper. And that's the key thing. So that's why I've gone with Flecken with those fixtures. The defense, then. Let's talk about the defense. Now, it's very big at the back, as you'd expect. I'm just thinking, why go small at the back when you can go big, right? So, look, at the back, I've got the double Arsenal. I think double Arsenal really just makes sense at this stage of the season. Their defense has just shown they can get clean sheets in any fixture, and I think Saliba's got good goal threat as well. I think in those games against Leicester and Southampton, they could get attack and returns alongside Gabriel, who's just imperious. I did think about Havertz, but I am just a bit more concerned about where will he play every single week with Odegaard's injury. And yes, they could play kind of Havertz still in the 9, but if there's a game where Trossard plays up top and Jesus plays up top, I do see Havertz dropping a bit deeper. So it's close between Solanke and Havertz, but I do just slightly prefer Solanke. So that's what kind of tipped me in the favour of going for Saliba. Trent Alexander-Arnold for me was just a non-negotiable. I just don't see a world where I didn't have him because, yes, the fixtures are getting a slightly worse for Liverpool after this Wolves game, but Trent is just the sort of player he can haul in any game, in any fixture. I just don't want to be without him, and he's a nice kind of built-up fund in my defence to downgrade if I need to invest it elsewhere in the team. So yeah, he has to stay in there for me. his 11-pointer for me showed that he's just too good. Orange Apple, answer your question now. What's your thoughts on Savio and Mikalenko over Rodgers and Gvardiol as a differential, or would you go back to the original? Now, that's interesting. So your original there is Rodgers and Gvardiol. Now, Rodgers, I think, is close to a must-have on a wild card just because of his value and his form is just so good at the moment. Now, the difference is I'm not too keen on Gvardiol, so I can understand the thought on saving a bit of money with Mikalenko, because at least with Mikalenko, you don't have to play him every week. Whereas I feel like you'd be inclined to play Gvardiol most weeks because of his price and because of his reputation. But this season, it's a fact of matter, a matter of fact, however you want to put it, that Gvardiol is just not proving valuable in terms of that price range and what he's actually delivering in terms of output. He's not playing that system that he was last season at the end of last season under Pep, and he's not really adopting that kind of left side. It's more about Lewis, and I worry that Lewis, when he plays in that midfield role, it means Gvardiol's going to have to drop back, especially now with Rodri out. I think they're going to have to get someone in that midfield to help out, and that could be Lewis, as Pep said in his presser. It could also be John Stones. It could be a Kanji, but I'm just not sure about Gvardiol's kind of value at the moment. I don't think he's delivering that. The conversation around Lewis is a bit different, I think, because Lewis is cheaper, so you don't mind as much if he gets benched. Whereas if you see Gvardiol not perform, it's a lot of money to spend for a kind of player that's not quite performing. So yeah, I understand Gvardiol with the fixtures coming out for City. I think some City coverage is nice, but I just don't think Gvardiol is the one. So I think with Savio, I really like him. He's in my current wildcard draft, as you can see. I think he's the sort of player where if we get a leak in the next kind of, 40 minutes or so that he's starting, I absolutely love him as a differential because he's a Pep player and he could get rotated. But I look at it and think in the games he's been fit this season, he's played all of them. The only game missed was for injury. And he's finding ways to get attacking returns. And it's just that fixture run for Man City. I think if he nails down a spot, famous last words of City players, but he could be a really good value. And I just think he's an exciting differential to go with on a wild card. So would I go Rodgers and Gvardiol to Savio and Mikalenko? I probably wouldn't, to be honest. I think because you've got Semenyo, Diaz, and Buemo Saka, you like Savio. Yeah, that's the thing. But I wouldn't really want to go without Saka and Buemo or Semenyo. So I think those three are your absolute musts. But then it's between Diaz, Rodgers, and Savio, and I think Rodgers is also a must. And if there's a way you could fit in Rodgers and Savio, then I would do that. I know that would mean taking out Diaz, but I just really like Rodgers this week. So I get what you're saying there, Orange Apple, but I just think Rodgers is really good value. And Diaz, yes, he's a great option this week. I think a lot of people look at that Wolves game and think, even if Diaz's minutes does reduce in the coming weeks, they could cash in on points this week. But I just felt I needed to find a way to squeeze in both Savio and Rodgers. So I would personally not make that move. I just think maybe change Gvardiol. I don't know if you're on a wild card, but if you're not, maybe be a bit more patient with Gvardiol. It depends if you've already made a transfer. But I would definitely keep Rodgers. Is my gut feeling with that one. I do like the Savio shout though, as you say, very differential. Let's talk FPL. Hang on. We've got some breaking news from Streamception. Here we go. Right. So Raya has been spotted at the team hotel, which is a big thing. But the problem is, Let's Talk FPL's tweeted that they don't have enough information, and unless he gets confirmation, he's still a doubt. So interesting. That's a bit of a pain because I kind of changed my plans based on having Flecken. But there's no guarantee Raya's going to be playing. I think Raya might just be on the bench. As mad as that sounds, I think if he's there, why would they risk him? They've got PSG on Tuesday. I don't know. I would be surprised if Raya played. I still would be. And I know that Raya could come back next week and he's still a good asset. But I've kind of made my bed with Flecken. I'm not ready to go back. I've kind of, in my head, decided. But interesting. Maybe all is not over, which it makes no sense to risk it. It's Leicester. Like, I don't think they need to risk it. So that's interesting. That is very interesting. Question from Hussein Hesham. Do you do team ratings? Yes, I can do, Hussein. So if you want to let me know your team whilst I frantically lock in my wildcard, still haven't decided certain things. But yeah, we'll go with it. We'll try and get it done before deadline. So yeah, on Twitter, you can see my handle on the bottom of the screen. It's at Roberto Hollis 9. So if you want to like DM me or something with your team, then feel free. Because I'm happy to have a quick look at it. Yeah, so we will then say Orange Apple. Which forwards do you have? Well, I was trying to keep the suspense a little bit, but as you can see in my midfield, Orange Apple, we've got Rodgers, who I just think is a really good own this week. And I know that no Luis Diaz is going to probably completely destroy me. And I can't fit in Salah either, so I'm just going to watch that Liverpool game behind the sofa, basically. But I'm hoping Trent covers, inverted commas, the attacking returns from that game. But yeah, it's like hoping for a pig to fly. It's unlikely. So yeah, it's going to be painful, I think. But I also think going forward, I like the security of Rodgers and Semenyo. Like all these players, I think maybe Savio is the kind of outlier to that. He's a bit more of a punt, but I also think that Savio is, got a good chance of starting today. And if we get news, I just think for that fixture run, he's going to be a really nice player to own. Orange Apple. No, I will reveal. Don't worry. The kind of the news on my forwards will be coming very soon. So I'm not one to leave it right at the end. Semenyo was one that I had in and out the wildcard this week. I did a lot of tinkering with that. But then I thought to myself, home to Southampton, away to Leicester. It's basically the reverse of the Arsenal fixtures. And yes, the fixtures, again, a bit like with Arsenal players, their fixtures go bad in game week 8, sort of 9 time. But there's plenty of options you can go to around that price. Or I've got a strong bench. Well, I like to think I've got a strong bench. It's a strong-ish bench. We'll get to that. But, you don't have to sell Semenyo. So I think just the upside of owning him these next 2 weeks, and he's under 10% owned. I think he's like very close to 10% probably by now. I can see what he is at the moment. But I just think he's just a no-brainer. He's had the most shots of anyone in the Premier League. And he's 5.7 million. It just feels an absolute no-brainer. Yeah, he's currently at 10% owned. At the time of doing my recent FPL thread on differentials, Semenyo was under 10%. So I, talked about him as one of my differentials. And yeah, I nearly thought about bringing him into my differential shouts on the pod. But yeah, I'm glad I didn't in a way, because I think the other players are a bit more differential than Semenyo. Semenyo is very much a differential in the game, but then you see on Twitter, everyone's got him and you're like, oh, he's not just differential. But trust me, he is in the actual player base. So yeah, I just think he's far too good to go without. Saka's an absolute non-negotiable. He was probably the first locked player in this wildcard along with Haaland. Just no reason to go without. Those fixtures, Saka is a season-long hold. Trent is a season-long hold. Like, I just don't understand anyone that go against Saka. So yeah, it's Saka's a long-term hold. Whereas I look at Diaz and I think maybe that's not as long-term. So yes, Diaz could go off this week, but Saka, he's just ridiculous. And those fixtures, I just don't want to go without him. I'd be worried going without Saka in those games. So yeah, could be captain this week. Very, very possible. More likely he's captain next week, I would say. But I say that, no, Haaland's at home to Fulham, probably not. But what I'm getting at is, thank you, Hussein. I'll have a look at that. But yes, what I'm getting is Saka is just hard to replace, and I'd be worried. I'd be worried if I didn't have him. So why risk it for a chocolate biscuit, as they say? I'm going to go with Saka. The next pick in Buemo is equally just as locked. I mean, he just doesn't seem worth taking the risk. I've just seen your team, Hussein, on the pinned tweet. Thank you. So let's give this a little rate, and then we'll go back to my little differential punt, Savio. So he's got 2 free transfers. How much money have you got in the bank, Hussein? Just let me know in the chat, just so I can kind of work out what you're dealing with. So you've got Flecken and Pope in goal. Now, I have to assume this is a wildcard draft. If it is, then actually no, maybe it probably isn't, is it? Basically, you've got 2.1 in the bank. Okay. Yeah, is it? Just let me know if it's a wild card or if it's not. Because if it's not, then yeah, I would make a few transfers here, basically. You've got 2 free transfers, of course. It's not a wild card, sorry. So yeah, what I would say is Flecken and Pope, I just think it's too much. I don't think you need both of them. Yeah, no, I didn't. Sorry, I've worked out now you're not on wild card. So Flecken is great, and Pope is the one I just got rid of. So definitely play Flecken. I think when you do wildcard, definitely just pick one keeper, because I think you're wasting too much money having 2 playing keepers. Unless you're planning to rotate them, which I don't think you'd want to rotate. Newcastle defence at the moment, as I said earlier in the video, they're just not looking good at the moment. So yeah, definitely play Flecken, but it's not worth a transfer on your part. A back 5 of Robinson, Trent, Vardiol, Lewis, and Porro. Right, so I would assume you'd be starting Trent, Robinson, and Porro. Or what's your thoughts on City defence? Because I think double City defence is tricky because you haven't got Haaland, and I think you need Haaland. So if you've got 2.1 in the bank, you can't get to Haaland. So, and I understand why you've done this. You've got Salah, but how far away do you think you are from wildcarding? Because if you don't want a wildcard this week, you've got 2 free transfers. I mean, you can wildcard, and then you'll have 2 in 7. So it's interesting. Midfield of Saka and Mitoma, Eze, Jota, and Salah. I like Salah. I like Saka. Mitoma, his fixtures. Oh, he's already wildcarded. Okay, no worries. In that case, yeah, I would maybe you can just about get away with taking a week without Haaland, but by game week 7, you're going to need him. So factor in this to your transfers. You've got 2 frees, 2.1 in the bank. I would 100% roll a transfer this week if possible, just so if you can't get Haaland in 2 moves next week, then you can get him in 3, if that makes sense. So yeah, Muniz is a problem as well. So the fact you've got 2 means it's quite good in a way, because I think you can only you might need to make one of them, but then you can roll the other, so you've got 2 for game week 7 to then get in Haaland. So what I would do is Muniz out, and I would probably say 2.1 in the bank. You can get up to Solanke. Can you get up to? Yeah, you can get up, to be fair, to Solanke. I'm not quite sure if you've got enough funds for Havertz, because you've only got 1 Arsenal. So yeah, I would probably try and get up to game week 2. Right? Yeah, you wildcarded game week 2. Okay, fair enough. Interesting. I would definitely do Muniz to Solanke. I think Solanke's a really good buy this week. Or possibly Jackson, based on who you prefer, because you've got the funds for both. And then I would probably roll the other, and then basically try and, with those 2 free transfers, even if you have to do a -4 just to get Haaland in game week 7, use those 2 frees next week to get Haaland in. It's as simple as that, really. And if that means selling Salah as part of it, then I'd rather you wait a week this week, sold Salah maybe next week. I mean, it doesn't sound great, does it? But I just think you need Haaland at home to Fulham. So if that means selling Salah, because you've just not got a lot of funds to get to Haaland, really, then I think you might have to do that. So in terms of your starting 11 for this week, after doing the Muniz transfer, obviously Pedro would be last on bench. Then I would say probably you should bench. Tricky one because we don't know about Lewis and Gvardiol yet. I'm still looking out for leaks. Not seen anything yet on leaks. I'm kind of annoyed about Raya. I can't lie. Like I thought for 1 second that that was done. That I didn't need to worry about that. But now I'm a bit worried. Like, should I just put Raya back in now? I mean, he could well still not play. Like, just because he's at the hotel doesn't mean he's starting. That's the thing. The famous FPL quote doesn't mean he's starting if he's at the hotel. So yeah, he's been spotted at the hotel, but the fact there's no confirmation of it is a problem. I would need confirmation to be confident enough to put Raya back in, I think. So I'm happy to go without, I think, for now. Yeah, so yeah, no, thanks for sending in your team, Hussein. I think, to be honest, I would look at getting Haaland in, as I mentioned, and most likely I would probably just bench Jota. Does that sound really, really crazy? No, I maybe bench Matoma away Chelsea. Yeah, away Chelsea. So I'd bench probably Pedro away Chelsea because he's injured. That's fine. Matoma away Chelsea. So then you play 4 in midfield. Just hope that Jota starts, and then Wood and Solanke up front. And then that means you're benching a defender, and that defender I'd probably bench, I guess, is maybe Lewis, just because Gvardiol's going to play. You don't know Lewis is going to play. But yeah, I think just reassess ahead of next week. I don't think it's worth doing anything rash this week. But once you know, for instance, that Lewis is getting minutes or not, and if, for instance, Robinson, if he gets a clean sheet, is a good fixture away to Forest. And then you can maybe get rid as part of your -4 or your Haaland move in. Robinson can go, and you could just have City defenders for the run in and hope that they play. That's probably what I would say. In terms of the team rating, though, thanks, Hussein. I really appreciate that. So in terms of a team rating, I'd probably give it. I think that Haaland needs to come in. Salah's a nice kind of edge on other people. Saka's obviously nice. I think it's solid. I'll give it a 6.5 out of 10. But yeah, I'd definitely make sure you get in Haaland by game week 7. So going back to this midfield then, Savio in my midfield is, it could be a problem. It could well be a problem. I hope it isn't, because if he comes through and is returning well, then it could be delightful. It could be absolutely delightful. But it is a City midfielder, so I'm not completely naive to that. I just want some team leaks. Like if we got a leak that Savio started, then that would be huge. Then that would be huge. So yeah, I think probably we'll leave it like that. But the temptation to put Diaz in was quite big. I also played around with Maddison, but I think Savio is just my pick this week. When you pick out a player and you're like, they feel like my pick. I know there's other people that will have Savio, but it feels personal to me, and it feels like a risk that's probably worth taking. If he doesn't start, then it's a punt that I took. But I feel like there's enough upside knowing the fixtures coming after this week, and based on the minutes he's got so far, I think. And at 6.5, it's not like a Foden where you put Foden in and he doesn't start, you're fuming because he's 9.3 million. He's 6.5. Like, he's not the worst price, and I can rotate to any other midfielder around that price if I need to. So I look at it and think I don't think that's a massive issue, and I'm happy to go with that really. So yeah, I've just seen Orange Apple commenting in the FPL Juice stream. So Savio Mikolenko, I'm going to go back to it. Orange Apple. If you're benching Mikolenko, then I think maybe it's okay. But I don't think you want to rely on Mikolenko that often. I think I understand the Savio hype because, you know, maybe you've got it from me. I don't know. But I have been excited by Savio. It's just it could also come crashing down and burn. But I hope it doesn't. I hope it doesn't. We live in hope. So yeah, midfield is pretty much there, I think. Now, the big reveal, the one you've been waiting for, Orange Apple. Yeah, these are the forwards I've got. And you'll be surprised, because of the fact I've got in 5, of course, there is a front 2 and not a front 3. Now, I like to think I'm setting myself apart from the FPL community here because I've seen a lot of teams on Twitter, in the community, that are so samey and boring. And I think Savio's just my hot chili pepper, my little spice in this team. And the front 2 are pretty template, but I just think that's because they're the best 2. I think Haaland is obviously non-negotiable. Have to go with him. I think the second best forward this week is Solanke. Now, I've seen people say it's Watkins. I understand that, but I think you can say, oh, with price involved, Solanke is the best. Because when it comes to team structure, Solanke just makes more sense. Watkins, 9 million's a lot for a player that's not playing 90 minutes all the time. Now, I know he played pretty much that last week, so he could be back in terms of his right levels of fitness. But Duran is just always there. Whereas Solanke, you know what he's going to do in that Tottenham team. He's going to start every game. He's going to play the whole game. And Spurs create so many chances. And this is why I factored Solanke over Havertz in my thinking. And so, yeah, I think I would go as I've gone. Solanke's the one for me. I did play around with Havertz, as I mentioned. Jackson never really came into my mind, I'll be honest. Maybe it's previous with Jackson and knowing what he has done in the past. But I don't think Chelsea's fixtures, hence why I haven't looked at Palmer really, are that amazing. They've got 2 okay fixtures from an attacking perspective, but I don't think it's a must. And Jackson is getting taken off early as well, so I worry about minutes. So Solanke for me just looks a lot of sense at the moment in that front 2. And then yeah, of course, the robot Haaland's there. So yeah, I think that's pretty comfortable. If we get news, then I will change it, obviously. But we've got no news. The thing about that Raya thing is, do I get twitchy? Do I start thinking, oh, get Raya back in? The problem with Raya back in is, who do I have as that third defender? Because I don't really like anyone other than Gabriel and Trent. That's the issue I've got. So I'm getting pelted. I'm getting pelters from the FPL Juice show because they said I wasn't in from the start. I'm fuming. They think I'm not there, but I was literally commenting the first comment, mate. So I'm not having that. I'm trying to do a deadline stream. Allow it, Juice. All right. So what was I going to say? Yeah, so the front two. Oh, hang on. What's this about Raya? Wait, is Focal putting Raya in his team? He has as well. There it is. Focal's put Raya in his team. Oh, do I put Raya in now? But just because he's there doesn't mean he starts, right? Right? I don't think there's guarantees. Oh, this is chaos. Oh, just when you think it's done and dusted, it's not. Just when you think. Oh, tricky one now. There's no guarantee he starts. There's no guarantee he starts. Like, just that video wouldn't convince me to put him in. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, Hassan. Don't overthink this one. That's what I'm thinking. But I decided in my head, like, why you've got to do this to me, Raya? Oh, I think if you're here's the thing, right? If you're not on a wild card, you keep Raya. If you are, I don't think it's worth the headache. So what I'm saying is, it's not worth the transfer headache if you're not on a wild card. That's the difference, I think. So we're calm. We're absolutely calm. I've locked it in pretty much. I haven't locked it in, but I could do anything at this point. But if we get Savio news, yeah. Raya today, if he plays, it'd just be typical, wouldn't it? It would just be typical FPL. But I wouldn't be surprised. I genuinely would not be surprised. I mean, Planet FPL, he posted an hour ago his team. And he had Raya in it. And he said expecting to have no goalkeeper, but can't see the justification in -4. So he'd already made a transfer. That's fair enough. On a wild card, I don't think it's a problem to take out Raya. Now, of course, Raya could start and he could haul, and I could think that was my Raya. He was there from the get go in my wild card team, but I don't want to live like that. It's too much panic. Just forget about it. We move on. Bench reveal time. Hassan is excited for bench reveal. Let's get into it. So bench reveal. Now, by the way, captaincy is not locked. I haven't even locked in the captaincy yet, but my guess is that it will be on the big robot, Mr. Haaland himself, which is funny because prior to this game week, I was so set on Saka, like so set. It's amazing what a couple of hat tricks can do, isn't it? Yeah, Haaland's just a joke. He's just a joke, and I know it's the early kickoff, but it's not like he's not done it before in the early kickoff. So I just think Haaland captain. Don't overthink this one. Saka has got the potential, but he doesn't usually regularly haul in terms of what we want from a captain. And is this a game where Arsenal just share the goals around like they always do? Is this a game like that? It's very possible. Right, bench reveal time. Here we go. Boom. Now, you will say, what are you doing, Roberto? You've got a 4.5 dud forward. Yes, I know. As this is what I said. Not many teams, certainly on wildcard, I don't think I've seen any actually, that have got a 4.5 dud forward. Now, there might be some that are non-wildcard teams that have got a 4.5 dud forward. Oh, be quiet, Boona. Saying about Savio. Mate, come on. Right, FPL Tony, I need you to tell me about Savio, bro. Come on. Yeah, so I just don't want the headache. I don't want 8 playing attackers. So I've got Stuart just sitting there, fine. And I've got money in the bank as well. I've got 0.8 in the bank, which obviously is not loads, but it's a bit of wiggle room for the next few weeks. And don't forget, we've got bench options. So it's not like if one of the attackers gets injured, oh, damn it, I have to play Stuart. I'm in the mud. No, it's all right. I can play Porro or Davis. It's when you get people tweeting saying stuff like, "If I were a betting man, Raya starts." That's stuff I don't like because people lose money in bets. So why do I feel worried about that? Why do I feel nervous? I do feel nervous about no Raya, but I don't know. I just think, we're not going to get any City leaks. I mean, this is an absolute travesty for Savinho. Do I take out Savinho because of the lack of City leaks? But then it just makes my team so boring. So, like, my only differentials, really, I don't know if you can call Semenyo a differential now that he's 10% owned, but it's literally just Solanke. That's it. I mean, yeah, okay, Davis on the bench, but he's on the bench, so it's just no excitement. Savio's my little bundle of excitement that I can actually get excited about. So I worry that, I mean, I could get in Maddison for Savio. The problem is I'd have to downgrade elsewhere because I've got 0.8. I haven't got 1 mil in the bank to go from the 1 mil jump from Savio to Maddison. Or instead of Savio, I get McNeil. But do I really want Dwight McNeil in my midfield? I don't think I do. I don't think I do. And this is where you could say go back to Diaz. But then again, where's the differentials? Like, I don't want that everyone midfield has got Diaz, Mbuemo, Saka, Semenyo, Rodgers. It's just boring. It's just boring. And I feel like I'm willing to go against Diaz. I've seen a few teams without Liverpool players, not many, but I'm hoping that it might be okay. Famous last words when Luis Diaz and Salah both score hat-tricks. Is the defense too pricey? Yeah, I did think about that. Hassan. But the way I'm looking at it is, if one of my attackers gets injured, I don't have to make an attacking transfer because Stuart can just sit there. And if I've got like expensive defenders ready to come in, I can just play them in any fixture. Like, that's the thing with Porro, Trent, and the two Arsenal boys, is they can play in any game. Because Porro, he's got attacking threat in any fixture. Don't mind playing him any week. And then, of course, Trent and Gabriel are just good defenses and good attacking threat. So that's my kind of thinking, is I've got money in the defense. If I need to get players in anywhere over the pitch, I can downgrade that to move some money around. And I've got solid, reliable defenders where a lot of the defenders in the game I just don't trust. Like Lewis, minutes, not sure. Is there any kind of inclination to get an Everton defender? Absolutely not, because they're terrible. And do I really think that someone like a 4.5 Forest defender or another 4.5 is worth having to start every week? No, I don't. So that's why I've got Davis and Porro there, just because I don't have to play them every week. And there'll be weeks where Semenyo's got bad fixtures and Savio, if he's going to actually play, gets bad fixtures, and then I can just bench them. Chances are I won't be benching any of the Arsenal boys because they're just a joke in every game. But yeah, I would imagine that I'm happy with this. Got a couple questions in. We'll answer those straight away. We've got 12 minutes to deadline, so lock in your teams, people. I'm wavering on Savio. I can't lie. Savio is a bit of an issue at the moment. I don't know what to do with him, and I need news. Because if he starts, it's glorious. But if he doesn't, it's pretty much wildcard ruined straight away. So I need some news, please, FPL Tony. Yeah, let's answer some questions before the deadline. Thoughts on Salah, Isak, and Winks to Diaz, Havertz, and Saka? Thanks for your question, Jeff Johns. I would say, if it's for free, if you've got free transfers, yes. If it's for a -4, I probably wouldn't. Just because Isak, I mean, he might play. There's no guarantees out, but he's unlikely to. But the thing I ask is, if you're selling Winks, are you benching someone good to play your Winks replacement? So I would say if it's for free, do it. If it's for a -4, when you're swapping around Salah and Saka, it's not essential. Obviously, maybe you've only got one Arsenal there, so I can understand it. But yeah, we'll have to see if that's free or not. Robber Rishi has said, should I take a -4 to get Gabriel in for Porro, or a -4 to get Mbeumo in for Jota, or none? Gabriel in for Porro. I mean, it's tricky because Porro's got good fixtures coming up, so I don't hate him. I don't hate Porro. Yeah, long term, I don't hate him. Gabriel is obviously really good for this week, but for a -4 for a defender, it's always a tricky one. Mbeumo and for Jota, I like a bit more just because I feel like Mbeumo's got the potential to pay that back. Yeah, I can understand. If you've not got either Gabriel or Mbeumo, I'd probably want to get one of them. I think Mbeumo is more important because you can kind of get other Arsenal assets. Whereas I feel like you need to capitalise on those Brentford fixtures. So I would say but Jota could start. This is the thing, and then you've taken a -4 for away to Wolves. Like it's tricky. I need to know the Liverpool lineups. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't roll though. I don't think I would roll because I'd want one of those two. The problem you've got is Gabriel is not going to get enough points to pay that back this week. I don't think, unless he gets a goal and a clean sheet. I would, if I had to do one of them, I'd probably do the Mbeumo one, but I wouldn't like it. I wouldn't like it because Jota could well start. He could well be benched, sure, but he could well start. You just got to hope that Mbeumo in that West Ham game goes off, but I don't love it. Hassan has made another account at the start with only boring options. It stayed around the average. Fair enough. I don't think that's a question, so we're all good. Guys, I need to work out what I'm doing here because there's literally 8 minutes to deadline and I have no clue what I'm doing because Savinho is just completely unknown. Like, can you just help me out, please, Tony? I need some news. What do we think about my fifth midfielder? I've got 7.3 million. Is it worth going with someone else? Because I can't afford Diaz in one move. Obviously, it's a wild card, so I can change a few things around. I could put Diaz in, right? And when I put Diaz in, I have to say 0.7. So it's a reasonable amount. Now I could then downgrade Porro and just have a 4.5. But where's the fun in that? Like, yes, Luis Diaz is good, but where's the fun? Oh, FPL Tony, here we go. Haaland starts. That's not the news we wanted, Brev. No, I'm sorry. You could have literally said anything other than that. Oh. Wow. Savio, man, please. Literally 7 minutes to deadline. I am sweating. I am sweating. Yeah, this is scary stuff, people. I can't lie. Put it in the chat. What should I do? Because I'm happy with the team, but is it worth? Maybe it's just worth having. Maybe I just get Dibbling and upgrade my forward because I don't really want to sell Porro because I like Spurs' fixtures. So if I sell Diaz, I know that sounds crazy because Diaz is obviously a great option, but let's say I got in Dibbling just to save funds. What could I do with that fund? 2.8. Okay. 7.3 forward. You see, that's the problem. I don't really like anyone at 7.3. I could get Chris Wood. It's not the end of the world. And Chris Wood is pretty good. He's not very differential, but he's pretty good. 7.3 is just not enough. It's just not quite enough. Calvert-Lewin, I mean, I'm a bit scarred from last week, to be honest. I'm a bit scarred from last week with the blank. I don't know if I can go back there. I just don't know. FPL Tony, please. Just give me some Savio news. Rico Lewis starts. Okay. That's interesting. That is interesting. Do I get Rico in? I mean, it's away to Newcastle. I don't even think they're getting a clean sheet. That's the thing. Even if he starts, which apparently, according to FPL Tony, he does. I might get Wood and Lewis, you know. Should I captain Saka? Oh, we've not got much time. 4 minutes. Yeah, I probably should have had a Savio plan, shouldn't I? Do I do Solanke and for João Pedro or for Muniz? Definitely for... Oh, actually. Muniz. Will he start this week? I would just sell Muniz. Forget Muniz. Muniz is terrible. Pedro could come back next week. You never know. I mean, he probably won't, but anyway. Start ESR Rodgers. I'll say ESR. I'll say ESR. Right. Look at this team. I mean, we're still a mess. We're still a mess, and there's 3 minutes to go. We are actually a mess. Savio. I need Savio news. Please. I'm not getting Savio news. Why couldn't Tony have just given me some Savio news, man? That's all I wanted. Oh, dear. We are in trouble. We are in trouble. I've literally got 3 minutes left, and I still haven't locked in my wild card. We are actually in the mud. Right. Does he just do that? Does he just do that? Is it worth having the bench? Is it worth having Liverpool? I think Savio is just too risky. But he could start Savio, and I might just be worrying about nothing. This is the problem. I'm trying to see if anyone else has got Savio in their team. But I don't think they do. I'm going to put Lewis in, I think. I'm going to put Lewis in. I've literally got 2 minutes. I just have to move quickly. I have to move very, very quickly. A 5.4. You know what? Forget Savio. Bring in Carvalho. I had him earlier on in the week. He was my gut feeling. Oh, damn. Too many Brentford players. Sugar. All right. Let's just get Valdemar. Wait, what? I can't get Valdemarson. No. No. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. What am I doing? Sugar. What am I doing? All right. Forget Wood. Get back to Stewart. Nah, but no, I don't want Ryan Flecken. Oh, my gosh. I've literally got a minute. I've literally got a minute to lock this in. Right. Chris Wood's in. Chris Wood's in. And let's just get in any 4.0 goalkeeper. 0.6 left in the bank. Okay, let's make those transfers. Confirm the wild card. There we are. Locked in. Locked in. Lewis, start Lewis. Start Lewis for Carvalho. Get it done before deadline. Can he do it in time? Quick. He's done it in time. Sugar. Chris Wood is on the bench. For who? Rodgers. Done. I bench Rodgers. Why have I benched Rodgers? That's madness. It's absolute madness. Rico Lewis starts Ferrari 61. I can't believe what I've done. I've panicked. Savio has made me panic. He might well start. What have I done? Solanke's captain. Sorry, Haaland's captain, I should say. I've benched Rodgers. Literally all video I've said do not bench Rodgers, and yet I've benched Rodgers. And I brought in Rico Lewis for no reason when I'd never planned on doing it the entire week. I mean, it's just madness. If Savio starts now, I will be severely disappointed. I can't lie. And I put Pedro Porro above Carvalho. I think that's probably the right move, isn't it? I mean, I don't think I can make a change now. I don't think I've got time to make a change. Oh, look at this. This was the team that was. The team that never was. The team that changed right at the end. Last minute limbs. I could have had Savio for his glorious haul. And instead, I've gone and put in Chris Wood out of fear. If Rico Lewis doesn't score a hat-trick, then we're mudded. We're mudded. We're absolutely mudded. That's it. Deadline's gone, people. It's 11:01. Wow, that is the knee-jerkest of wildcards I've ever had in my entire FPL career. That was mayhem. That was absolute mayhem. FPL Tony, I needed that leak, and you just didn't give it to me. It's as simple as that. It is as simple as that. Right, I'm going to post my team now. Posting my team. I can't believe the U-turn that's just happened there. I mean, what was I thinking? I panicked. I genuinely panicked. What was my thought process there? I don't know what my thought process was. It was just, oh, Lewis starts, let's put him in. To be fair, it's going to be like this every week with Lewis. Why have I joined the Lewis pain train? I honestly don't know. I honestly have not got a clue why I've done that. I'm actually a bit of a plonker. Just taking a picture of my team, so I've locked it in. Well, that was mayhem. That was absolute mayhem, and very happy to have done it with you people. It's probably a one-off because of my wildcard situation and this weekend being free, but it was great fun. I hope you enjoyed. I hope everyone got to lock in their teams, and I hope my answers to everyone's questions was useful. Yeah, thanks again for all those that did join the live stream. Really, really good fun. And yeah, now we watch as the wild card completely obliterates my weekend. Can't wait. Cannot wait. So yeah, Rico Lewis is in out of absolute no reason whatsoever. So basically, we've got 0 differentials now, which is really quite a problem. I mean, what is Rico Lewis's ownership? It might be. No, it's not going to be under 10. Yeah, it's 11.1. He's marginally a differential, but barely. Yeah, I knew I was captaining Haaland all day long. It was just a matter of I didn't expect. Yeah, no, it's already saved it. I'm sure it already saved. I didn't expect to be benching Rodgers, let alone putting him third bench. When literally all this week I've said, do not bench Rodgers, do not bench Rodgers, and I've gone and done it. And I literally said all this week, oh, I'm going to have 8, one, fodder forward. And I don't like 8 playing attackers. And what have I done? Gone with eight playing attackers. Yeah, I don't quite know what came over me there, but it is what it is, and it's done. So, yeah. Stressful times, people. Stressful times. I feel like going with the 3 up front does make sense, just because I think Wood's just a great option. He's just a great option. The thing I'm concerned about is the fact that I've got no Liverpool and now technically no Rodgers because he's last on bench. I probably should have put him first on bench, but I thought to myself, Rodgers won't do anything. But yeah, this could be a disaster waiting to happen, people. It's actually incredible. When you listen back to the podcast, check in the description of this video because I've put the link to the latest podcast there. When you think about how different, actually no, the front 3 I said in the video, in the podcast is now the same as this is in reality. Like I didn't have Wood before, but I had him in when I mentioned him in the pod. The midfield was a midfield 4. Now it's a midfield 3. I mean, 4 at the back. I mean, that no one's going to have 4 at the back. I really do like to be different, don't I? Not for different sake, but I mean, I've got Carvalho there if he comes good, I suppose. But who I'm going to bench next week, I really don't know. If Lewis gets dropped, I suppose, then we're fine. But we won't know that every week. So, yeah, that's going to be a bundle of pain. Honestly, don't know what happened in that deadline, but panic set in. And Savio, if you don't play, then I'll be gutted. I can't lie, I'll be gutted. But there we go. That's the deadline stream, people. All done. And also, why pick Carvalho when I literally could have picked anyone? I suppose I didn't really want McNeil. I've probably done myself over with not having the Brentford backup like that. That's probably a bit stupid. Yeah, probably. But I just like Carvalho for some reason. He was my pick. So Savio was originally my Carvalho was originally my pick. I talked about on the pod, and then Savio was the one in the week. I was like, ooh, a bit of Savio. But I think a lot of Savio owners like me. I think Nima mentioned it on Elite FPL that he was going for Savio and he was waiting for team leaks. We just didn't get them. So you cannot include someone based off no information. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. Now I'm looking at the teams in the timeline. All of them have got Rodgers bench, but they've got them first bench, not third. But also they've got Liverpool players. I mean, I've got Trent, sure, but no Luis Diaz. So basically, the difference for my team to a lot of teams is Saliba. Well, actually, no, it's not even that. It's just not many people have got 4 at the back. A lot of people have gone Raya, which is a bit concerning. I can't lie. A lot of people have gone Raya. If Raya plays now, honestly, it would just be a nightmare. Probably shouldn't have just gone with risky picks like Savinho because it's probably just done me over there. But I just fancied it. Okay, my rival arch nemesis has gone without Haaland. Is he all right? FPL Wheeler, aka Adam, has taken Haaland out of his team. Is he okay? Is his name Andy Martin? Like, what's going on? And he's benched Solanke. I mean, sure. I mean, yeah, whatever floats your boat, I guess. And he's also got Allison in goal with Bender as the backup. Mate, I've got Bender too. He knows Bender's a great FPL pick. Anyway, that's where we're going to end the stream. I hope you have enjoyed. If you didn't get to watch all of it live, didn't catch it live, then please do me a favor, smash a like on the stream, share it with your friends, click the link and share it across social media, X, Instagram, that sort of thing. Just let someone else know that this stream was a hopefully enjoyable experience for you guys. And yeah, really appreciate those that did drop in and answer your questions. Was good fun. Have a good game week, everyone. Don't get too depressed because it probably will get to that point. And hopefully this team gets 100 points when Rico Lewis has scored a hattie. I'll see you next week for the lot more lethargic and less stressful pre-recorded videos, probably. Time will be quite of the essence with a lot of work on at the moment, but glad we could have done this one. See you next time, everyone. Bye-bye.